The year is 776 before the Common Era, nearly 3,000 years ago. Somewhere in the western Peloponnese, in a sacred valley where two rivers meet, a cook lines up at the starting line. He is about to run a race, just one race, 192 meters in a straight line. If he wins, nothing changes for him materially. No prize money, no fame that will last beyond his own lifetime, or so he thinks. But what happens on that dusty track will echo across 3 millennia. The Olympic Games begin here, and the man who wins? His name is Coroebus. He is a cook from Elis, and this is his story. But let's pause for a moment, because here is where the mystery begins. Was 776 BC really the first Olympic Games, or just the first time someone wrote down the winner's name? The truth is stranger than you might think. The date 776 BC comes to us from a man named Hippias. He was a scholar from Elis, the same region that controlled Olympia, and he lived around 400 BC. Hippias wanted to create a master list of Olympic winners, so he went back through temple records and oral traditions. He pieced together names going all the way back to what he called the first Olympiad. That was 776 BC. And the winner of that first race, according to Hippias, was a man named Coroebus of Elis. But here is where it gets interesting. Hippias was working from documents and memories that were already centuries old. He was doing his best, but ancient writers who came after him, like Eusebius, a Roman historian from the 4th century AD, had a different take. Eusebius wrote that Coroebus was simply the first recorded winner. He suggested that the actual games might have started much earlier, maybe in the heroic age, the age of myths and demigods. Some ancient sources claimed the first games happened 27 Olympiads before Coroebus. That would put the true origin somewhere around 900 BC, or even earlier. So why do we still say 776 BC? Because Hippias's list became the official timeline for the ancient world. The Greeks started measuring time in Olympiads, 4-year periods named after whoever won the stadion race. It was like a calendar, and that calendar began with Coroebus. Historians today generally agree that the games almost certainly existed before 776 BC. The religious festival at Olympia, held in honor of Zeus, had been going on for generations. Athletic contests were probably part of that festival for decades, maybe centuries, before anyone started keeping records. But when record-keeping began, it began with Coroebus. Now let's go back to that summer day in 776 BC. The place is Olympia. But Olympia is not a city, it is a sanctuary. A sacred grove called the Altis, dedicated to Zeus, king of the Greek gods. The sanctuary sits in a fertile valley where the Alpheus and Kledios rivers meet. The location is stunning. Low wooded hills, open farmland, the Ionian Sea just 10 miles to the west. But more than the scenery, this place has religious power. The Greeks believe that Zeus himself watches over this ground. The first Olympic Games are not a week-long spectacle. They are a single day, and on that day, there is exactly one event. It is called the stadion. The word means standing or fixed distance, and it will eventually give us the modern English word stadium. The race is a sprint of approximately 192 meters, roughly the length of a modern football field. Runners start from a stone or wood line and run straight to the finish. No turns, no hurdles, just pure speed. The track itself is simple. Hard-packed dirt, dressed with sand. The starting line is marked by stone grooves where the runners plant their feet. At the far end, the finish line is another stone line. The spectators, mostly men, mostly from the surrounding region, stand on grassy slopes on either side. They can hold around 40,000 people. But in 776 BC, the crowd is probably much smaller. The games have not yet become the Pan-Hellenic phenomenon they will later be. Among the competitors is a man named Coroebus. He is from Elis, the nearby town that controls the sanctuary. By profession, he is a cook, a baker. He prepares food for a living. He is not a professional athlete, because professional athletes do not exist yet. He is just a man who can run fast. And on this day, he runs faster than everyone else. He wins the stadion. He becomes the first recorded Olympic champion in history. The prize he receives is not a gold medal. There are no gold medals. There is no silver. There is no bronze. The winner of the ancient Olympics receives an olive wreath, a circle of wild olive leaves cut from a sacred tree near the temple of Zeus. The Greeks call it the kotinos. For them, this simple crown of leaves is worth more than any treasure. It represents the favor of the gods. It is immortality. But for Coroebus, the immediate reward is even simpler. He gets to go home. He gets to tell his family, and his name gets written down. The Greek traveler Pausanias, who visited Olympia in the 2nd century AD, wrote about Coroebus. He said, "When the unbroken tradition of the Olympiads began, there was first the foot race, and Coroebus and Elean was victor." Then Pausanias added something surprising. There is no statue of Coroebus at Olympia, but his grave is on the borders of Elis, and in Pausanias's time, people still knew where to find it. A cook from 800 years earlier, still remembered, still honored. The first Olympics were a humble beginning. For the next 13 Olympiads, 52 years, the stadion race remained the only event. But change was coming. In 774 BC, the dialos was added. That is a 2-length race down and back. 4 years later, in 720 BC, the dolichos appeared, a long-distance race of perhaps 12 laps. And that same year, something else changed. Something that shocked the Greek world. The athletes began competing naked. The first to do this was a runner named Orsippus from Megara. According to ancient sources, he either tripped on his loincloth or simply decided it was easier to run without one. Either way, he won, and other athletes copied him. Within a generation, competing naked became the standard. The Greeks believed the naked body showed the strength and beauty that the gods had given. It was a celebration of the human form, but for outsiders, it was shocking. Women were not allowed to watch. At least, married women were forbidden under penalty of death. Unmarried women could attend. But if a married woman was caught at the games, she was thrown from a nearby rock. The games continued to grow. Wrestling and the pentathlon, which included discus, javelin, long jump, running, and wrestling, were added in 708 BC. Boxing came in 688 BC. Chariot racing followed in 680 BC. By the 5th century BC, the Olympic festival lasted 5 days. It included dozens of events. It drew athletes and spectators from across the Greek world, from colonies in Spain to trading posts in the Black Sea. But the ancient Olympics were never just about sports. They were religious. The games were held in honor of Zeus, and the religious rituals were as important as the athletic competitions. The centerpiece of the festival was the sacrifice. Every 4 years, at the great altar of Zeus, 100 oxen were slaughtered. The altar itself was not made of stone. It was made of ash, the accumulated remains of centuries of sacrifices. The ash from the burned thigh bones of oxen was mixed with water from the Alphaeus River and pasted onto the pile. Over time, this ash altar grew into a massive cone, nearly 7 meters high. The third day of the later games was the most sacred. In the morning, a grand procession moved toward the great ash altar. The priests sacrificed the hecatomb, the 100 oxen. The smell of burning fat and meat filled the valley. The smoke rose toward the sky, carrying the prayers of the Greek world to Zeus. After the sacrifice, the athletes themselves moved into the stadium, and the competitions began. This is the context that modern viewers often miss. The ancient Olympics were not a secular sporting event. They were a religious festival where athletic competition served as a form of worship. Winning was not about personal glory, at least not only about personal glory. Winning proved that the gods favored you. Winning proved that your city-state had the blessing of Zeus. The poet Pindar, who wrote victory odes for Olympic champions, captured this perfectly. He said that a victor reaches the sweetest end of contests, and that his success draws honor from the gods. The political implications were enormous. City-states used Olympic victories to assert dominance over their rivals. When an athlete won, his hometown often tore down a section of its city wall to welcome him home, because a city that produced an Olympic champion no longer needed walls. But for all its glory, the ancient Olympics had rules that seem strange to us. Some of them were harsh. Cheating was rare, but when it happened, the punishment was severe. Athletes who broke the rules by bribing opponents or fixing matches were fined. The money from those fines was used to erect bronze statues of Zeus called Zanes, which stood along the path leading into the stadium. Every athlete passed these statues on their way to compete. They were a reminder that Zeus was watching, and that cheating would not be forgotten. Women were completely excluded from participation. Not a single women's event existed at the ancient Olympics. But there was one loophole. In equestrian events, the winner was not the rider or the charioteer. The winner was the owner of the horse or chariot. So a woman could win an Olympic crown without ever setting foot in the stadium. The most famous example is a Spartan princess named Cyniska. In 396 BC and again in 392 BC, her horses won the four-horse chariot race. She became the first woman to win an Olympic event. She never saw her horses race, but her name was recorded, and she built a monument at Olympia to celebrate her victory. The ancient Olympics lasted for more than a millennium, from 776 BC all the way to the end of the 4th century AD. That is more than 1,100 years of continuous competition. Through wars, through invasions, through the rise and fall of empires, the Olympic Games continued. They were held even as Greece fell to Rome. Roman emperors competed as athletes. The Emperor Nero famously entered the chariot race in AD 67 and won, even though he fell from his chariot and failed to finish. The judges awarded him the crown anyway. But in the late 4th century AD, the world changed. Christianity became the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. Emperor Theodosius I, a devout Christian, began suppressing pagan religious practices. The Olympic Games, dedicated to Zeus, were a pagan festival. Around AD 393, the last recorded Olympics were held. After that, the Games stopped. In AD 426, Theodosius II ordered the destruction of pagan temples. The sanctuary at Olympia was abandoned. Over time, earthquakes and floods buried the site. The memory of the Olympics faded. For nearly 1,500 years, the world forgot. Then, in the 19th century, something remarkable happened. German archaeologists began excavating Olympia. In 1875, a team led by Ernst Curtius started clearing the sacred precinct. They found the stadium. They found the temple of Zeus. They found the workshop of the sculptor Phidias, who had created the statue of Zeus, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Piece by piece, they uncovered the physical remains of a tradition that had shaped the ancient world. Inspired by these discoveries, a French educator named Pierre de Coubertin proposed reviving the Olympic Games. In 1896, the first modern Olympics were held in Athens. The marathon was run, the stadium was filled, and the ancient tradition was reborn. Coubertin also revived the Olympic Truce, the ancient Greek tradition of stopping wars during the Games. In ancient Greece, the truce was called ekaicheria, which means holding hands. It allowed athletes and spectators to travel safely to Olympia. Today, the Olympic Truce is still declared before every modern Games. But here is the most incredible part of this story. The man who started it all, the cook who ran that first race, is still remembered. Archaeologists have not found his statue, but they have found traces of his legacy. In Elis, the region he called home, he was revered for centuries after his death. His grave was a landmark in the time of Pausanias, 700 years later. And today, every time an Olympic champion stands on a podium, every time a runner breaks a record, every time the Olympic flame is lit, the echo of that first race in 776 BC can be heard. So what can we learn from this story? We often think of the Olympics as a modern invention, but the truth is that the impulse to compete, to honor excellence, to push the limits of the human body, that impulse is ancient. It is as old as civilization itself. The Greeks did not invent athletics, but they invented the idea of bringing together the entire known world to celebrate them. They created a tradition that was religious, political, and deeply human. The first Olympics were small. One event, one day, one winner. A cook who could run fast. But from that humble start, something extraordinary grew. 1,000 years of competition, a monument to human potential, an idea so powerful that even after 15 centuries of silence, the world decided to bring it back. Coroebus of Elis did not know he was making history. He just ran. And that might be the most important lesson of all. History is not made by people who know they are making it. History is made by people who show up, who do the work, who run the race. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes that is everything.